This is my seasonal live, where I plan to do one every season. A Q&A, a foraging Q&A, so that I can speak directly to you guys who follow along and read my Substack, and I like to have this whole conversation with you both, with you all, like between me and between you guys, so that I know what you are all most interested in. Morning, Abby. Hi, Janie. Where I'm attempting to join on my laptop as well, so that I can more easily see the comments, but it's possible that it's beyond me. Oh no, it's not beyond me, it's right here. Great. Okay. It's very unsettling seeing myself twice on two screens, isn't it? So I'll start off with a question that I had commented by Claire of Rewilding Neurodiversity. If you don't know her publication, do go and have a look at it. Rewilding Neurodiversity. It's really lovely writing. Claire asks, do you know what type of elm this is? And she's given me a picture. And when I repost this, the replay of this live, I'll pop the picture on it. Do I know what type of elm this is? I'm not sure. It's a delicious snack. Sad it's nearly over. We eat them straight off the tree. I don't know if you can cook them into anything nice. Do you know? So she's talking about the seeds of the elm tree. The type of elm tree that she's sent me the picture of is a wych elm. And I can tell that because it's got these long heart-shaped leaves that taper down to like a real defined point. The other kind of elm that we get in this country would be a common elm tree. And the common elms have slightly smaller leaves and they're more rounded. They don't have such a point to them. And I'll put up a photo of each kind of elm tree so that you can have a look and see if you maybe recognise them, have a go at identifying them near you. So at the moment in the UK, they have got little seeds all over them, and the seeds are in whole bunches, and they appear like flat, papery little discs, and they're very pale green. Sometimes the little tiny seed in the middle is really quite pink or red, and other times it's just completely green, like the papery surround. And they're really very unique, that they don't look like seeds of any other type of tree, and they are forageable because they're edible. And I think they're lovely straight off the tree as well, Claire. My children also adore them, and every foraging walk that I've taught in the spring, I haven't found a single person that hasn't liked them. They have a lovely sweetness to them, and I think that they taste a bit like frozen peas or mange tout that you've sort of picked straight out of the garden or something like that. They've got quite a pea flavour to them, really nice and fresh. And my favourite way to eat them is just raw off the tree. They never make it home. They just don't make it home because they taste so nice. But you could attempt to take them home and pop them in a salad or something. So she's asking, I don't know if you can cook them into anything nice. I do know that lots of people do cook them. So they cook them quite quickly and gently in an oven on a baking tray, a bit like how you would make kale crisps or something like that. So these seeds are called samoras. They're elm samoras, but they are the sort of papery fruit, I guess, the fruit of the elm tree. A seed and then its little papery sort of surround. But not papery in like an unpleasant way. As they get too mature and too old, they do start to go dry and papery and crackly. You wouldn't want to eat them then because it would just be an unpleasant mouth feel. But when they're fresh and green, they're really lovely. So you get the fresh green ones and you sort of sprinkle them out on a baking tray in one layer. You can toss them in a tiny bit of oil and salt if you want to, and then you pop them into a hot oven, but just for like a minute or 2 minutes, and you like have to keep a close eye on them. You don't want to burn them, but that makes them sort of crispy, like kale crisps. So you can do that, and otherwise, Claire, I wouldn't cook them because I think that they've got amazing properties raw. So because they're the seed of the plant, it means they've got protein in, they've got sugars for the little seed to germinate. It'll like be feeding off all the sugars and the proteins that are in the sort of seed package. So by eating the seeds of that tree, we are getting all of that benefit. So it's really quite nutrition dense. So I would aim to eat them raw because I think that's you're going to get the best flavour out of them and the most amount of goodness. So thank you for that question, Claire. And like I said, I will pop some photos of common elm and wych elm and the seed heads on the replay so that you can go and identify that. The season for it is short and will be ending very soon. Up here in the north, we've got more of a chance. If you're down in the south of the UK, you've probably missed it, but you can still find the seeds on the tree and identify the tree and mark it in your head for coming to visit next early spring, because it's really, really well worth seeking out an elm tree for the deliciousness of the Samora snacks. So if anybody live has got a question, I would love for you to put it in the chat. Any kind of, even if a question just sort of comes to you as I'm talking about other plants, then you're very welcome to put it down there. So I've had a question about my general foraging practice, and I've been asked what that looks like. What does my foraging practice look like? And I find, because I've been foraging for so many years, probably about 12 years, that I weave it in really effortlessly to my everyday. So I have got to know my local paths and lanes and verges and gardens and parks very intimately now, and I have in my head built up not only a physical map of my local wild edible plants, but also a seasonal map. So it's this map that deals with the 3D, and I can think the roses are down that lane and the best brambles are over here, but also seasonally, like it changes with the seasons, so I know where I'm going in spring, and then I know what plant is coming next, and it's something that you will build up in time and with practice. So my foraging practice looks like my normal life. It looks like walking to the beach for a swim and eating rose petals on the way. Or it looks like walking to work and noticing gradually as something is coming into season. So what I've been watching for the last 2 weeks is a patch of mugwort that grows on my walk into town. If I'm walking to the allotment, or into town to meet somebody, or to go to my studio, all of those routes take me past a particular patch of mugwort on the golf course. And I've been anticipating her arrival, and she's, growing a few centimetres on the hot sunny days, a few centimetres a day. Like, she's taller every day. Um, and I am really aware of her because I want to pick and dry some mugwort for teas for my year, for herbal tea, and I would like to catch it at the best time, really. So I'm not going to plan it too much. I'm using my foraging practice as really a practice of looking and noticing. And yeah, just remembering to keep my eyes open. So that's what my foraging practice looks like. Sometimes it's reminding myself to take my headphones out and stop listening to music when I'm walking somewhere, because then I am more likely to walk a bit slower, which aids my foraging, aids my noticing, and also to just pay attention a little bit more. But yeah, that's my general foraging practice, is second nature. Second nature on the way to other things, whilst I'm doing other things, and just noticing, really. I think I used to get quite frustrated with the timings of things, and I would feel like I was waiting for the right season to harvest something in particular, and then if I missed it, I would get I would feel that, and I would get quite frustrated with it. But I would say that that just comes with practice. You get more in tune with the landscape around you and with the seasons, the more you forage, or the more you just spend time outside. And it doesn't bother me anymore, mostly. um, which leads me on to another question that I've had. Abby is asking what to look out for in the next month or two. And that's a great question, because this is how I learnt to forage as well. I would read people's blogs and things like that, or I would have a look through. I've got some lovely foraging books, and my favourite kinds of foraging books are ones where the author has split the different plants up into seasons. So I treat that as a kind of lovely, like, Sunday morning ritual when the season is changing. I will sit down with a hot drink, and I will go to, for instance, now I would go to summer. So I'd go to the summer section of a foraging book, because I know that I've got 2, 3, 4 weeks until those things will be ready in my area. But it's like having a little weather forecast and looking ahead a little bit. So what I would be looking out for in the next month or two, I know that Abby is down in London, so it's not even in the next month or two in my brain. In my brain, it's wait, which way around is it? They're ahead. Okay, you guys are ahead in London, and things are going to be ready sooner. So what I would be looking out for next, then, it's like time traveling. I'm just like time traveling in my head and going into the future a bit. It's exciting. So I am watching the mugwort right now in Berwick, waiting for the right time to pick it, which means that in London it will be already ready. And I popped down to London to see Abby, who's my sister, the day before yesterday, and I noticed all the elderflowers are out. Yes, it is so much warmer there. All the elderflowers are out already, right? And up here, I can see the elder out of my bedroom window right now in my back garden, and she's still lots of green little tight buds. The flowers have not yet opened. So in London right now, I would be picking elderflowers and rose petals. I would be searching for mugwort, because she'll be ready. Mugwort is a really lovely and interesting plant, especially for us women, because she's really a medicinal plant for the womb, for your cycles. She's associated with the moon and the goddess Artemis, and there's just something very cyclical about her. She's working on our whole system, and really looking inwards and feeling ourselves, feeling our bodies, feeling our cycles, and what's affecting us. So that's something I'm really interested in at the moment, which is why I'm waiting for mugwort to harvest her for tea. So you could be looking out for mugwort. And then I suppose it would be things like cherries, wild cherries. Um, they will start ripening quite soon, so you could be looking out for wild cherries. And they look, pretty obvious. They look like this kind of cherries that you'd buy in a shop, but just a little bit smaller. But in the same way, they will start off green, they will go bright red, and then they'll taste better when they're really dark. So look out for those in the hedgerows, and that's a kind of practice of like my foraging practice. That will be, oh, there's a cherry, and I'll eat it right now. I wouldn't say that you would go out with a basket with the intention to pick a whole basket full of cherries, because the birds love them, and that probably wouldn't happen. Abby says, so mugwort for tea or anything else? I love mugwort for tea. You can dry the leaves. When the flower spike starts to grow, you can have the flowers as well. But I think the leaves, like just before it comes into flower, is the best. You can also get so mugwort's got all these medicinal qualities for menopause, your periods, you're just bleeding, blood in the body in general. But then it's also got the qualities of lucid dreaming and visioning. So if you're interested in those, then you don't have to drink it as a tea. You can just get the leaves, and you can put them under your pillow, but I like to put them in the pillow. I like to put the leaves like in between the pillow and the pillowcase, and sleep on it. These leaves are like full of volatile oils, essential oils, and you can get the benefits from it just by breathing in the scent. So that's another thing you could do. You could also put them in your bath. So you could gather a handful of mugwort leaves and draw a hot bath with the leaves that right there in the bath, like a giant cup of herbal tea, and then get in it. And that would be a lovely thing to do, either like around your bleed, or basically just before sleep. Would be really lovely, and you might get some cool, insightful, prophetic dreams. You might just get a good night's sleep, and I think either of those is a win, isn't it? So, have we got any other questions live? Any other foraging questions? I'm just checking the chat. I'm checking my post in case I've had any more questions. I don't think so. Hello, Whit. Nice to see you. So, I've got one more question that I have been asked outside of Substack. I know that somebody stopped me the other day when I was foraging, because I was picking rose petals, and this lovely couple, who I think were tourists staying in my town, were really, really interested in why I was picking rose petals. So I'll have a little chat with you about rose petals and what to do with them. So I used to not like the flavour of rose at all. When I was a child, when I was a teenager, I didn't like things like Turkish Delight. And even as I got slightly older and started drinking herbal tea, if I had a herbal tea that was rose petals, I didn't used to like it, and I found it way too like floral, a bit sickening. Um, and then when I started foraging, I made some herbal tea with rose petals in that were fresh rose petals, and I found the taste really different. And I actually really enjoy it. So I quite often make a herbal tea with rose petals, usually mixed in with something else like hawthorn. I do like to pick, especially as they're both in flower right now. I do like to pick a bunch of flowers of hawthorn off the plant, a few rose petals, and make a cup of tea with that. And I find the two plants work really well together. Um, Less musky when fresh, I imagine, says Abby. Yeah, exactly. Not as like perfumey, and you can taste the rose without it feeling like really cloying. Um, so the benefits of rose and hawthorn are both herbs for the heart, for the circulation, like the physical heart, keeping your sort of blood pressure, and the general circulation in your body healthy, but also on the emotional heart. So they're both herbs for grief, for loss, for heartbreak, and I find hawthorn and rose very helpful and comforting plants for when I'm grieving the world. Something really draws me to those two plants when I am just fed up with the systems, um, or the politics, or just the general heaviness of being in this body on this planet. Um, I find a cup of tea with hawthorn and rose really, really helpful. Um, Not that I said all of this to that couple who stopped me when I was picking rose petals, because I didn't go off on one like this. This is a safe space. um, Something else I love to do with rose petals, haven't yet done it this year, but I will shortly. I'm really waiting for a sunny day to pick rose petals for this particular recipe. So I love to make rose petal honey. So I will eat some honey out of a jar until there's a bit of a space, maybe almost halfway down. And then, like, not in one sitting, obviously. And then I'll pick some rose petals on a sunny day, which is much better for when you're going to preserve them or cook them, because you just don't want to add like extra water. So if they're like covered in rain or dew or something, you don't want to add extra water. And also they just sort of stay fresher longer, and the volatile oils are more near the surface, so they come out into the food a bit better. So rose petals from a sunny day, either beach roses, dog roses, or roses from your garden, as long as they've not been sprayed with anything. And just pop them into that half jar of honey, and give it a stir and stir the rose petals in. And then I never actually bother to strain them out. You can do, especially if you've got runny honey. You can leave it infusing for, I'd say, 4 weeks. You can strain it out, but I never do. I just leave the rose petals in there, and then I'll use it on my porridge, pretty much on my porridge. And I love the rose flavour. You can also do it with lilac flowers, which is going to be like a love or a hate thing. And I imagine my sister Abby does not like lilac and probably wouldn't like eating lilac. I'm saying that just because I know that you don't like honeysuckle, and lilac's quite floral, but lilac is a flavour and a smell that I really, really like. So lilac honey as well. Yeah, that's something that I love to do. And if you are not an eater of honey, you could do the same thing with some kind of syrup, a plant syrup that is has not got a really strong flavour already. So I wouldn't use maple syrup. I would use something. Yeah, Abby says lilac is not for me. I guessed that. You could use agave syrup. Or what have I seen in my local health food shop? I've seen like a light rice syrup. You wouldn't want the dark, sticky, heavy one, but there was a sort of a light one, and you could do the rose petals in that. Is it best to pick rose petals from flowers on their way out to help the insects, or just one or two from a prolific bush won't harm? Very good question. Well done. What I do is I think about the bees all the time. I mean, it's not just about bees, obviously, is it? It's about all of the insects and pollinators. But when I'm picking rose petals, I'm generally seeing bees on them. And what I do is I pick like, so rose petals on the wild roses, like dog roses and beach roses, they have 5 petals. And I pick 2 petals from each flower so that there are still petals, because the petals for the pollinators are helping, they're like landing signals, and the petals are what catch the eye of the pollinator, and then they're sending them into the middle to go and get the pollen. So by leaving 3 petals still on there, it's still like sending the bee to the pollen. So that's what I do. I take like 2 petals off each, not every flower as well. I also leave whole flowers for the pollinators. But yeah, that's what I do, and then spread that out over as many plants as you can, uh, depending on where your roses are. But the beach roses that I gather right along the path that run down to my local beach, there's quite a stand of them, so I can just move along and move along and move along. So I end up taking, I don't know, maybe 8 petals from each plant, something like that. And if there's ever fewer than about 6 flowers that are currently in flower, then I don't touch them at all. There's this sort of old foraging, um, I was going to say rule, it's not, but yeah, that'll do. A foraging rule, which I think is in Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. It's a Native American set of guidelines for foraging, and I'm pretty sure it was her that talked about them in Braiding Sweetgrass. And one of them is to never pick the first and never pick the last. And I extend that out with compassion, to be way more gentler than that even as well. So I would never pick the first rose flower that I saw opening out, but I would extend that to be first 5 or something like that. And then you would never pick the last one, so you would never pick everything off one bush. But also I notice the end of the season, and I'm sort of in the rose lens, I'm looking at these roses. The rose will keep flowering and be making rose hips, be making the seed heads, over a number of weeks. So they have quite a long flowering season. The older flowers, when they're finished, they start to make rose hips, new flowers come out. They've got a long flowering season, but still in my mind, I'm aware of it and I'm watching them and I'm thinking, the season's coming to an end, and then I stop picking them before it's actually come to an end. And that's just courtesy to everybody else, the more than human world, the non-humans that are also using these plants for food and medicine. Thanks, Abby. Thanks for your questions. Right, I was planning for that to be about half an hour long, and I've answered the questions that I've been given, so that is brilliant. Unless anybody's got a last question, I'll stay on for a minute before I let you all go. Thank you for coming. I will do another one of these in 2 or 3 months. I just imagine to do one every season. I have been enjoying them so far. I don't think I did a winter one, but I did a summer one and an autumn one last year, and it's just a really nice check-in, actually. It's a nice check-in for me, to know what you're all interested in, what everybody else is foraging, where everyone else is coming from. I like to be of service with my knowledge. I don't want to keep it all in my head. I want to talk about it. All right, I don't think there's any more questions. Thank you everybody for coming to my seasonal foraging Q&A. I am going to be putting up this replay. I'll put in stuff about witch elm and common elm. I'll put in some stuff about rose. I will link to something I've already written about mugwort. And yeah, if anyone's got any more requests on things that they would like to see coming up in Wild Revival, then just reach out anytime, because I never plan too far ahead what plants I'm going to talk about. Sometimes the plants let me know if they want a whole Substack post on them, and sometimes I'm just waiting for the inspiration, so perhaps you are the prompt. All right, enjoy your day everybody. Don't forget to go outside. Lovely to see you all. All right, bye guys.